Welcome back, beautiful souls, to another episode of Channel Your Light, Own Your Intuitive. So today we are talking about beings of light and beings of dark. There is a great misconception that all beings of light are for your highest good because they are of light. This could not be further from the truth. And I share this both from my own confusing experiences on my spiritual journey. And I also want to share, in addition, the beings of dark that are not for your highest good and some that are. It's a misconception between light and dark and what that means. So first I want to talk about, I'm being told Thich Nhat Hanh wants to speak through this repeatedly, and I welcome his ancient wisdom. He says it's harnessing mastery, and the masses are about to be unfolded into that. And he says that's why it's important. Thich is also saying that there will be many, many masters channeled consciously and through trance channeling, which I will share in actual class from our Own Your Intuitive Channel Your Light tribe and community and courses that talks about the difference between trance channeling and conscious channeling. There is a distinct difference and differentiation between the two of them, which is important to understand. Neither way is more right than wrong. They are simply different. They are simply a different avenue for delivering the information depending on the instrument that's being used to deliver it. He says, thank you for sharing that. Okay. So, link in the video description for the difference between trance channeling and conscious channeling and why that's important for you to know. So, we're going to talk about, he wants to start with the beings of light. So, he's saying that beings of light, fractals of light, he says, but if you have too much light, it takes away from the grounded human experience, because you're spiritual beings, right? Having a human experience. That means that spirituality, those concepts, those ideas are to be rooted and grounded in the human experience as part of the Great Awakening. So it also says that beings of light are important, but not all of them are for your highest good. So he says, use your experience as an example. So for me personally, on my spiritual journey experience through the last, I want to say 7 years, there have been times where I have been blinded by the light. So that concept is super important, because if you are blinded by the light, you cannot root and bring into form through your Earth Star chakra, because you're up here. That's the importance of this, okay? So there are beings of light that are for your good and not for your highest good. So the beings of light that are for your good are your actual guides who are on the middle path, who are both igniting this spirituality, this remembering, this awakening, these teachings, this mastering, but it's also marrying this aspect over here, which is of the materialism, the dark, so the greed, all of those things. There is a balance to that. Money is not bad. Having things is not bad. Being successful is not bad. In fact, it is the most balanced spiritual aspects that the Great Awakening is attempting to attune us to. What is not learned by consciousness will be righted by the shape-shifting of Mother Earth and Gaia. This is very, very poignant and true. He says the earth plane will change based on the Great Awakening. So if human beings do not evolve, the earth will push forward, nudge forward the changing of the consciousness based on the changing of Mother Earth or Gaia's consciousness. They are all working together, says Thich. It is all one. One affects the other. One influences the other. When one pushes, the other one is back. When this one is back pushes forward, the other one moves back. But there becomes a balancing again over and over today. All I hear is the middle path. It's the middle path. It's a rite of passage as well. It is a rite of passage to experience all the light, and it's a rite of passage to experience all the dark. So let's move to the dark beings. Thich is saying thank you for acknowledging this. Thank you for, I'm saying thank you. Aaron here is saying thank you as well for giving me the courage and the strength to deliver these messages that have been intuited for a number of years now, that I have experienced and been through a process of. So this is not, I'm being told very clearly, the rite of passage idea. For those of you who have not had teachers and this has been hidden knowledge from you and you have been struggling and not understanding what WTF, he says, you don't need that language with me. He says, remember, words are powerful. For those of you who have been experiencing that struggle and wondering what the heck is going on and what are these experiences that I'm having, what am I doing with them, and all those different things, he says, this is the teaching that you need. This is the teaching that we all need as we move from this, the light up here and the dark down here, to this, the balancing, the co-creation in balance and in harmony with all things. That is Creator's purpose. Yes, it's about the experience, but it's also the balancing of the harmony, the understanding, the lessons, the ups, the downs, the depth, the breadth, however you wish to explain that or understand that. So he wants to go to the beings of dark. So the systems that we have in place and the religions, because the information that we have been socially conditioned, institutionally conditioned, medically conditioned to believe and think and adhere to is not the whole truth. Because of that, this materialism and this disconnection from spirit and the greed and all those things became so heavily imbalanced, that's coming from beings of dark, that we failed to recognize that there is profound knowledge and wisdom in the materialism aspect of the human experience. Again, Thich says this is why we're spiritual beings here having a human experience. So for those of you who have been along your journey, who have been stuck in poverty, who have been victimized, who have been traumatized repeatedly, had your power taken away, it didn't matter how many times you took it back, there was a system or something that showed up and immediately put its foot down on top of you. This is what we're talking about. This is part of the Great Awakening. That is the extreme, dark, heavy balance that has been occurring, that is being righted. The last 100 years has been a preparation. One step at a time, it's one step at a time. It cannot happen overnight. Consciousness cannot handle that level or aptitude of information or knowledge or understanding of who they are and what they are. Imagine that you have all these beings of dark or who are in that traumatized state, suddenly recognizing I am presence, but haven't healed those things and start creating from that hate, that greed, that jealousy, because we don't want that either. That will not help the balance as well. So Thich is saying that the beings of dark are valuable. There's an essence. It's about, so the yin and the yang, you'll notice the yin and the yang. He says, why do you think that the light has a piece of the dark in it and the dark has a piece of the light in it, and the two make the whole? How one swirls into the other. He says the meaning of the yin and the yang has been distorted over time, but the true meaning and the esoteric knowledge of it is the understanding that this and that exist, and the marrying of the two of them, or the balancing of the two of them, creates the middle path. It is the balance. It is not to say everything is all light, and it is not to only be blinded by the light, and it's not to say that everything is all dark and only be blinded by the dark, or I'm hearing shut out by the dark, disconnected, moved into complete darkness. There is not only that, right? It's not the one or the other. It's the bringing and the understanding of the matrix of the two, of you, of the Holy Trinity of Self. You are a spiritual being, light, having a human experience, dark. And what are we doing during this process? What's the human experience? It is integrating the two of them together in harmony so that there is not this extreme imbalance of dark and an imbalance of light. This is part of the Great Awakening in the consciousness. So as you move through your spiritual journey, you may have spiritual beings of light who, yes, they are light, but that does not mean it's for your highest good. It actually, when I'm blinded by the light, I'm being told to explain this, when I was in experiences where I was blinded by the light, the information was slightly distorted because it didn't have the aspect of both sides of the coin. And vice versa, when I'm all in the materialism and the dark and all of those things, this piece over here, I no longer have that balance anymore because it's so far this way. So that's why it's important to recognize. So I'm being told to reference divine masculine and divine feminine. We both have a divine masculine and a divine feminine within each of us. It is the yin and the yang. It is the receiving and it is the giving. It is the being and it is the doing. It is the go and the stop. That's not a good reference because it's not really with the flow of whatever, but you know what I'm talking about, my friends. So if you think about it like that, we have both of those within us. Now, most of us have been told to fulfill a role. So the masculine, for the most part, has been told to fulfill a role that is disconnected from the heart chakra, from the yin, from the power of the Shakti, the feminine, primordial life force energy. And the yin, the feminine over here, because of that distortion, have had to step into an imbalanced masculine energy in order to compensate for what has been missing. Now there's also the feminines who utilize that primordial life force energy because they have unhealed wounds to manipulate, attach, and distort to masculines. It's both and. It's not just one side where there's men are wrong and bad and blah, blah, blah. And it's also not women are bad. It's both and, my friends. This is the great balancing and the great awakening. So both these energies exist within all of us. Some of us have a stronger yang, and some of us have a stronger yin. But the purpose of this, if you have an intensely strong yin, and you marry that with an intensely strong yang, and it becomes harmonized and balanced with the give and the take, and the push and the pull and the flow, there is such beautiful, innate, intrinsic, powerful energy that is the result of that marrying of the two, the balancing of the two. Now, I am explaining this in the context of within the self, but I'm also explaining that in the context of in the external world. It has nothing to do with male and females marrying. You can have two females where one has a predominantly yang energy and the other female has a predominantly yin energy, and they become a perfect match in marrying as well. Same with the masculine. On the masculine side, there are masculines who have dominant yin energy because that is the essence of who they are. You have feminines who have a dominant yang energy because that is the essence of who they are too. But again, we're coming into the balancing. You do not want to be all yang. Arrogance lacks foresight is what I'm hearing. You do not want to be all yang. You also do not want to be all yin, because if I'm all yin, and this has to do with spiritual communities, if I'm all yin, I never get to the mastering of myself in the yang or the action or the creating in that essence. So there's creating from the yin, receiving, and I want to say manipulating the energy, but that's not quite the right word. It's mastering the energy. If you are manipulating energy outside of you, that is, I'm seeing, that is not the right way to do it. That is a misunderstanding, false light, false information that has been heavily taught throughout. Tick is going like this, that's correct. Has been heavily taught because of the misunderstanding of the totality of energy and the essence of the I am presence and of who we are. That stems from the misunderstanding or only having a certain amount of pieces from the puzzle. You want to master your energy because that's the magnetic field. It is not about manipulating anyone else's energy. That is not the route you want to take because you are effectively creating karma and don't even realize it. Karma that you don't need to deal with. However, we live in a universal law. I'm being told specifically, and I actually heard somebody talk about this briefly. We're in a universe where whether you know the rules or not, you still have to be accountable. So the statement of I don't know is only going to get you so far. Maya Angelou, when you know better, you do better. Do not shame yourself for not knowing. You did not know. The reason why we're coming into this awareness now, which is the Great Awakening, is so that we do know, so that we can do better. So you don't want all yang and you don't want all yin. There's a perfect blend in marrying. So if we think about the swings between the light and the dark, when it is in balance, both are reciprocated, both are respected, both have a place at the table, and both are honored in every facet, whether you're talking about relationships, whether you're talking about work, whether you're talking about spirituality, whether you're talking about love. But more importantly, says Thich, the most important aspect is that balancing within the self. You can't look to somebody else to balance it out for you. You have to balance it within yourself. And that's a teaching in this dynamic of social conditioning, that it's like you have to have one, you complete me is the saying from a movie. I'm seeing a movie with Tom Cruise where they say some line about you complete me. I want to be super clear. You complete you. Anyone else in your sphere should simply be complementary. But if you look to somebody else to complete you, they will always fail, because you are only ever complete within yourself. They're an added bonus. If you do not complete yourself and you feel that someone else completes you, it doesn't mean you don't have resonance. It doesn't mean you don't feel at home with somebody. That's not what I mean. It's the idea of, if I have not healed within myself and recognized the balance of the energy of my masculine and feminine, my yin and my yang, and the harmony, you will inherently look outside you, because you've been taught to have somebody else complete you to balance it out. When the master key is, we are to balance it out within ourselves. It heals your trauma. It empowers you. You remember who you are. It is a stripping away of the paradigm that doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because it's not the truth. It can't work. And it creates a failure. It's almost like you will always fail when you expect somebody else to complete something within you. Always. That is always destined and doomed to fail. But perhaps it's just a lesson to get you to recognize that, right? It's recognizing, hold on, you cannot complete me, because you are not me. You are you. Your job is to complete you and feel whole in your own presence. And my job is to complete me and feel whole in my presence. And do you know what that completion requires? Your divine I am presence, your connection to your spirit, your spiritual essence, knowing, esoteric information. Not sure why esoteric information is coming through. I feel like that's a bit of superfluous information filtering in right there. So we're just going to move that out. So it's this divine spirit connection. That is what brings in the whole. Remember the Trinity, right? Mind, body, spirit. Mind, body, soul with spirit connection. Spirit transcends. Perhaps spirit is the fourth. If we're mind, body, and soul here, everybody has a different way of labeling it and understanding it, and that's okay. It will be just right for you. Thich is saying this teaching is complete, so I will leave it at that. I have implicit trust in his guidance, despite not really knowing many of his teachings. I'm also being shown this, which is, I'm not really sure what that is. I'm going to have to look that up. So intuitively, we can intuit information that we may not understand, but holds keys of wisdom and truth. So Thich says, thank you so much for listening. I want to thank all of you for listening and for co-creating with me, and the beauty of what is unfolding and unfurling in the ethers, in the collective consciousness, through spirit, through us, and through the many different spheres of consciousness at this time. Please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget, then you get notified. And the more people that are subscribing to the channel, the more I have masters show up from all. I'm being told there's somebody from a Hindu background or teaching from that area that is wanting, Ganesha is wanting to come through the deities. I'm hearing deities, Ganesha, there's all kinds of deities. Pantheon, I'm also hearing, that wish to share sacred knowledge and information for the upliftment and the understanding of human beings. So please like, share, and subscribe. I cannot wait to see you all in the next episode. And if you feel called, if you would like an intuitive guidance session, a reading, or a spiritual clearing where we move through a quantum spiritual fields of energy, please feel free to go to my website and check that out. It is erinchandler.com, and I will see you on the next video.